So I've been watching this GF body cam footage. I watched it a few times. It's been a few days since I watched it the first time. And I just keep going back and forth about this. I'm trying to see in both perspectives with the officers and GF himself and just the whole thing going on. And, the more I see it, the more I think about it, I really do think that the officers are gonna have. I think they're gonna get acquitted. I do think they're gonna walk free. To be honest, you just look at this body cam footage and you just see how much George Floyd is resisting. It's obscene, and then you just also see just how drugged up he was. I mean, he was again on fentanyl and meth, and if you watch the body cam footage, you just see how erratic he is. How he's just going from up and low, highs, downs. He's not complying with anything with the police. He's just acting erratic. He's just acting like someone that's on drugs. And I mean, it wasn't like this was a little bit of drugs in his system, guys. He was having lethal amounts of fentanyl and meth in him. So you guys need to understand. I mean, you guys need to understand, what the cops are seeing. They're seeing a man just acting drugged out. They even asked him, "Are you on anything?" He says, "No, I'm not." So, and then you take into consideration the autopsy. And the autopsy also supports that George Floyd didn't die because he got choked to death because from the knee. He didn't die because, he just couldn't breathe. He died from a heart attack, guys. And when you take into consideration how much drugs was in the system, lethal amounts, guys, lethal doses. And I've been understanding, these drugs, fentanyl, and it's been shown that when you take high amounts of fentanyl, you get into this really, really, high state, and then then your body starts crashing down and down and down. He also had I believe he has some kind of heart disease. He said that he was on COVID. I think he had COVID-19 in his body. I think the autopsy also said that. I'm not certain. So when you take all those factors into account, and then now you got this body cam footage that's just that shows that these officers were being, accommodating, and they were being pretty reasonable. It just shows like when the jury watches this and sees the autopsy, and they need to give they need to give the verdict in a non-biased way. You really got to think. I mean, he didn't die from the knee. He died from a heart attack. Like I said, drugs, COVID-19, his heart disease, the whole panic attack he was having. Most probably was also that's what the drugs probably contribute to him having that panic attack. I think when you talk about an illegal standpoint, and when you start seeing how lawyers are gonna handle this, I think they have a great case for the officer. And I think he has a high chance of walking. If I was to put it in a ratio of the officers being acquitted or being sentenced, I think it's a 70-30, to be honest, guys. It's quite amazing. Well, not amazing, like it's a good thing, but like when you just put that into perspectives, right? Because I know a lot of people are reacting with emotions, what they saw with the original footage. But when you take things into courts and things are looked at in a non-biased and in an objective way, then you start to see like, George Floyd, he was just not complying with the officers. He kicked himself out the vehicle. He requested to be laid on the ground. Officers try to accommodate him, trying to help him out, trying to ease up, make him ease up, turn on the air, put down the windows. And it's like I just think the case is going to be difficult for George Floyd. Yeah, it's unfortunate he died. I don't think he should have died. But when you put yourself in this type of situation, as soon as you're not complying with cops, you fighting, you making yourself become you sandbag yourself and just become you just drop your weight, not wanting to stand, not wanting to go into the police cruisers, kicking yourself out. It makes it tough for the case of George Floyd. And also when it comes to a culture aspect, you need to understand that yeah, it was not a racially motivated thing. It just wasn't, guys. When if it was honestly a racially motivated thing, I think the body cam footage would have shown something completely different. All cops were being pretty reasonable, were being pretty accommodating. So I know people want to see this man, go in jail, and I even said that yeah, I think the officer committed manslaughter. But on a legal standpoint, guys, I think it's gonna be tough to make that case. I think it really is when you just have the autopsy that doesn't support him dying from him not being able to breathe, him not being able to breathe, and he was saying he couldn't even before he got on the ground. He was saying that because of his claustrophobia, which, I don't know why all of a sudden he had it as soon as he was trying to be put into a police car, but he was fine going behind the wheel. You also need to take into consideration this dude was high on drugs like crazy, and he was going to be driving. He was going behind the wheel with other passengers. That's a scary thought on its own. But yeah, I just can't see. It's gonna be tough to make that case, guys. That's my opinion. It sucks George Floyd died. I don't think he should have died. But when you look at the autopsy and you look at the body cam footage, the case for it, it was a racially motivated thing, and the cop was out to get him. I just don't see it that way. Let me know what you guys think.